You already know what time it is. Welcome back in to the NFL with AJL, episode 109. Thank you guys so much for tapping in to the show. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're right here with us on the show. Y'all make sure to get in the comments as this episode rolls out to you, because we got an absolutely packed one. Of course, before we get into the show, y'all make sure to tap in with the crew. Hit the QR code in the corner of the screen or the link tree in the description. It is every bit of our social media and podcast content. And while you're here, share the podcast wherever you're watching or listening. Please like and definitely subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on all socials if you can't find us at NFL with AJL. We've got an amazing guest on the show tonight. It is not his first time. It definitely won't be his last time. And you know we had to make the lineup short because we can run forever when Marcus is on the show. And that's not his fault. It's definitely my fault too. We always chop it up greatly here. Marcus, great to have you in, bro. How you been? And are you ready? Because we got some hot ones tonight.
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm feeling good. Glad to be here. Glad to be back. All that good stuff, man. Let's have some fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's absolutely get it. Jaxson Dart just wrapped up a jaw-dropping preseason. We'll break down whether he deserves potential week one starting job plus give him an overall grade for his 3 weeks of action. And then we're going to get into our top 5 offensive of the rookie year candidates, kind of reevaluating that now that we have some preseason tape. And then to end it all, Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson has apparently dropped on a podcast that Shedeur Sanders was kind of convoluted against in the NFL and was told, rather the NFL told teams not to draft Shedeur. We're going to uncover whether this is hype, a conspiracy. Should the Browns just outright trade him with all of this really up in the air? Comment Dart, rookie, or Shedeur. You know it's your show too. Jump into the comments as we get into episode 109 so we can know what you're most excited about to hear first. So we're going to take it right off the top with Jaxson Dart, as again, he just wrapped up that first preseason, 3 weeks of live reps, flashes of brilliance, and just a lot of eyes are on him now, him being a first-round pick, him playing in all 3 preseason games, really getting the most time out of the rookie quarterbacks here in the preseason. But the thing is, right, is we know preseason doesn't tell the entire story, the actual people that he's playing against. He does look sharp, but, you know, what coaches are also seeing out of him, still going to need some work. So that's why we're going to get into the takeaways of him, the overall grade, and really should he potentially start in that week one. So let's go ahead and take it off the top, Marcus. Give me your kind of final preseason analysis of Jaxson Dart. What'd you see from him over these few weeks? And really, what's your overall grade of a really impressive 3-game run from this rookie?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think, number one, I think Jaxson Dart played really well. I think of all the rookie quarterbacks coming in, certainly not his fault, but I definitely think Jaxson Dart probably would have been under the most pressure and had the most eyes on him. One of them, anyway. Obviously, you know, Cam Ward goes number 1. Obviously, if Dylan Gabriel ends up being the starter in Cleveland over Shedeur Sanders, lots of pressure is going to be on him, you know. But I do think that Jaxson Dart's right up there just because the Giants did take him when a lot of people thought that the Giants were going to take Shedeur Sanders. So to come out here in 3 weeks of preseason play, look pretty good, right? Play well. That's got to mean a lot. Not just a confidence boost for him, but also just if you're a Giants fan, you have to feel good because Jaxson Dart's clearly the quarterback of the future, right? Which is what they've been looking for really ever since Eli Manning retired, is who's going to be that next guy to carry the mantle. I don't think Jaxson Dart will start week 1. I don't think Jaxson Dart should start week 1. I have always been one of those very few guys in today's, you know, NFL discourse space that will tell you that a rookie shouldn't start until he's ready. And I do think that there's a lot that Jaxson Dart could still learn from a guy like a Russell Wilson. And of course, you don't bring in a Russell Wilson this offseason if you're the New York Giants without pretty much guaranteeing him that starting job. As for a grade, I would give him an A. I think he played great. And I'm looking forward to, in the next couple of years, when the reins are handed over to him, I'm looking forward to the Jaxson Dart, Malik Neighbors quarterback wide receiver duo, because it very well could be one of, if not the absolute best 1-2 punches at the position in the league in a couple of years.
Do you foresee a Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp kind of just insane rejuvenation
Bro,
between
I think
those
so.
two? Because Malik Neighbors,
I mean, you remember last time I was here and we did QB comparisons. I kind of compared Jaxson Dart to Baker Mayfield, right? That fiery guy who is a great leader. Who kind of and we saw a lot of that this preseason. I do think that like Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, Jaxson Dart, Malik Neighbors, maybe. You know what? Honestly, I do think, though, Jaxson is a little bit more athletically inclined than Matthew Stafford. So I think maybe it might be something closer to what Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams were in Green Bay together. That's fair. Factoring in more so Jaxson Dart's ability to run, extend plays, and scramble, things of that nature. That can do it. But even like in his prime, he wasn't really known for that type of ability. Jaxson Dart won me over, I'll be honest, because I had an eyebrow raised when they drafted Jaxson Dart, and I was
Me
really
too.
concerned. But he looked great. And if you're going to go out there and you're going to pass on Shedeur Sanders, you got to go get a quarterback that's going to actually know how to go out there and play some football, and that's what he's done. So you gotta show him love and got to give him credit where credit's due for sure.
100%, man. Very, very well said. And, Jaxson Dart just continues to prove me wrong every snap he takes, every week he plays. And yes, it's in the preseason. It's against the twos, against the threes. A lot of these guys aren't going to make the team, but you simply cannot deny what Jaxson Dart is doing right now. And that's just where he, again, continues to prove me wrong, really in the worst way possible. And, I kind of thought it was unfair for Jaxson Dart to really get that hype just because of him beating Georgia. Like, don't get me wrong, you beat a good Georgia team, but it wasn't the end all be all. Like, Georgia was still part of the all four teams at home that got the first round bye, bounced out of the first round of the playoffs. And it's like they fell to that potential position because of losing to Ole Miss, but everybody was looking at Jaxson Dart, talking about his little 60, 70 yards rushing because Georgia wasn't able to keep up with rushing quarterbacks. And I'm not taking anything away from him, but the things that he's doing in the NFL right now, yes, it is the preseason. It's shocking me, man. I mean, the way he's able to be calm under pressure, taking hits, making throws, layering throws into NFL coverages is like speaking my love language when we look and talk about quarterbacks, man. That's just one of the best traits you can have besides being able to extend a play and really making it great. But I'm right there with you, man. I'm giving him a grade of an A. It was an A for 3 straight weeks in my book. 32 completions on 47 attempts, 372 passing yards, and it easily could have been over 500 had he not had a lot of passes dropped in that week 3 game. 3 passing touchdowns on the preseason rather. 0 interceptions. He did have that fumble, if you want to call it, on his final snap against the Patriots in the most recent preseason game. And then he had an additional 6 carries for 52 yards and a rushing touchdown. And you look at his week 3 stat line, right? It's like, okay, 6 of 12, 81 yards and a touchdown. 5 drops, though, from his receivers in this game. Easily left 100 plus yards and a potential touchdown on the board as well. I mean, he literally could have been 11 of 12 for 200-ish yards, 2 touchdowns. He would have thrown for, close to maybe 550, 600 yards in the preseason, just depending on how that math works out. And I'm not trying to overstress a preseason, but when I see a talent jump from college to the NFL that quickly, because let's keep it a buck. These guys in the NFL that are playing in preseason, they're probably better than most of your average college football players because they are in the preseason. They have gotten looks to be signed from NFL teams. And Jaxson Dart doing this, going up against those guys, it just feels unprecedented. Like he wasn't actually, really doing that over in Ole Miss. I mean, at one point in this game, speaking of his most recent preseason game, 5 of his 7 throws were drops, 2 of them by Jalen Hyatt, who I had high regards for coming into the year. Coming into the year, but even when he got drafted, I thought he was a, top 3 wide receiver in the class, but maybe he was drafted so late because he clearly does struggle with reeling in the passes. But you can see Jaxson Dart is really building that true connection with Greg Dulcich at the tight end position. And I mean, Jaxson Dart is he's so confident, such a strong first week, 81 passing grade from PFF. I mean, he is easily the most impressive rookie quarterback, right? He's the most impressive rookie right now. Am I wrong for saying that, Marcus?
No, I don't think so. I think he's definitely been the most impressive rookie. I think the only unfortunate part is like he won't be able to show that immediately, right? Like Cam Ward's going to be starting. Unfortunately, Shedeur won't be starting. Shinjinti, we know, is going to be starting, right? We expect big things of Travis Hunter, even a guy like Amarian Hampton, who I'm going to mention later on today as well. Like he won't be able to show his abilities, early on in the season like everyone else. But I mean, he was certainly the most impressive rookie of the preseason. That's for sure. And again, if you are the Giants organization, that has to feel good considering, you pretty much gifted the Eagles a Super Bowl by letting Saquon Barkley walk out the front door, and you're still been trying to find a quarterback. So you got to love it. I mean, I had a lot of questions. You signed not Russell Westbrook. You signed Russell Wilson. You signed Jameis Winston, and you draft Jaxson Dart. There's a lot of questions there. For Jaxson Dart to come out there and look as good as he looked in the preseason has to make you feel really good if you're the New York Giants. So I can't complain too much. I can't criticize too much about what the Giants were able to do.
Hell yeah, and I think this buys more time for Brian Dable and whatever the hell the GM's name is, because like it was literally going to be like they're expected to be one of the worst teams, right?
Yeah.
And then they go and get Jaxson Dart, and it's like for that sole pick alone, that could have saved Daboll's job. I mean,
Yeah.
like you know what I'm saying with, and it's going to depend on what he does throughout the season, but we've seen little moves here, little wins there, but like this feels like it's a big move. I mean, you perfectly said it. Like Jaxson Dart is clearly the quarterback of the future for the G-Men, for the Big Blue, for the New York Giants of the National Football League. And, you know, we can have a conversation here in a second about, you know, a real debate of if he should start because of how good he looks, potentially sitting behind Russell Wilson. But I mean, this guy just takes his assignment seriously. He doesn't try to do too much. Very solid vision. I mean, he was drafted in the first round clearly because he's able to make plays like this. We saw Daboll, you know, talking to him, you know, in kind of pre-draft interviews, like we saw him in the Jaden Daniels interview, you know, last year. I mean, throwing touchdown passes with rushers in his face, the deep ball timing, the composure. It's crazy to see this from a rookie. So let's go ahead and throw the real question out there. Do you believe Jaxson Dart looking this good, the most playing time of all rookies, just really getting the flash in quite a few phases? Do you believe that he should get the nod for week one, considering how the NFL is today?
No, Russell Wilson should still be the starter. I mean, again, not only you're not gonna sign Russell Wilson if you don't want him to be the starter, Russell Wilson's not gonna agree to come to the New York Football Giants just to be the backup to a rookie, right? And that's not a disrespect to Jaxson Dart. That is when you look at, where Russell Wilson came from, right? He came from Pittsburgh, another situation where you knew him going to Pittsburgh meant he would be the starter unless what happened? He got hurt, right? And so Justin Fields was slotted in there. And the only reason why it was really much of a conversation about whether or not Russell Wilson should end up being the starter when he comes back was because Justin Fields looked good under center in Pittsburgh while Russell Wilson was out, right? Russell Wilson is still a guy who can go out there and be productive. And for a Giants team who, even at their best this season, likely not going to be a playoff team, right? Likely going to finish dead last in the division, right? Likely going to be picking amongst the top 10, maybe top 12 in the NFL draft next year, right? Would I rather have Russell Wilson out there or would I rather have Jaxson Dart out there? I'd rather have Russell Wilson out there because the last thing I'd want to happen is send Jaxson Dart out there when he's not ready and he makes a bunch of bad mistakes, or God forbid, he gets hurt early into the season. His entire rookie season is gone. J.J. McCarthy last season, right? The other thing, too, and this is something I always keep going back and I keep revisiting, in the event that Jaxson Dart were to start week one and then things go wrong and he need to be benched, you can't go back to Jaxson Dart if Russell Wilson stinks it up.
A
You
Brian
can't pull the
Flores
rookie.
to
You
in and out,
can't
in
do
and
it.
out. You
No, you
can't do
can't
that.
bench the rookie for the vet and then bench the vet for the rookie. You can't do it. So the other reason why you don't want Jaxson Dart to play is because you want to give Russell Wilson the opportunity to go out there and you want to give Jaxson Dart the opportunity in practice to earn that starting job, right? To be ready, whether it's because just Russell Wilson needs to get benched because he's not playing well or because, God forbid, Russell Wilson gets hurt, right? What you don't want to do is shake a young quarterback's confidence so early in his career by starting him and then benching him the second something goes wrong. And last but not least, as you mentioned, Jaxson Dart looking this good in preseason has bought Brian Daboll and Joe Shine at least
There's
2 or
his name.
3 more years in New York. Absolutely, 100%. Russell Wilson's not the long-term plan. You now can see from the preseason that Jaxson Dart is the future of this franchise. You've got at least 2-3 more years before you really have to start making a decision about whether or not Brian, that head coach GM duo, is really the duo that's going to get this New York Football Giants team back to playing in or potentially winning a Super Bowl in the Jaxson Dart era. So no, Russell Wilson should start. Russell Wilson will start. But maybe depending on how the season goes, right? Like if the Giants are eliminated from the playoff contention by week 12, which seems to be the case every single season, right? Maybe they say, hey, let's put him out there these last couple games when it doesn't mean anything, just so he can get those real-time reps against legitimate, NFL, tier 1 NFL caliber defenses, so he can really start to improve on that. But no, Russell Wilson should be the starter for sure, and I think he will.
Yeah, good points. Very good points. I'm still leaning starting him week one. I mean, we see it often in the NFL. I believe that Jaxson Dart has the confidence. He's got the perfect aura and swagger to be a New York Giant. I mean, he just looks like he belongs in the number 6 in that royal blue with that white NY on his helmet. And I don't know. I really think Jaxson Dart has what it takes to start in week one because, here's the thing, Marcus. You know what you have in Russ. I cannot even, this is a whole nother topic for a whole nother show at a whole nother time. Like the downfall / the mismanagement and just the way Sean Payton treated Russell Wilson when I thought he kind of had him back in the second year is just beyond me. But you know what you have in Russ. I believe Russ's best days are behind him. Do you think the fan base wants a Russell Wilson who is now on his third team in 3 years? Or do you think the fan base wants a Jaxson Dart who you traded up for, if I remember correctly, to go get him? And I mean, Jameis is Jameis. Like, come on, bro. You've already got Dart feeding Jameis W's on the sideline. What do they need to wait for? Well, I mean, you know what I mean? But I get your point too. I don't know. I think that like he's rolling. You know what I mean? He's seeing the plays. He's processing. He's going through the motions. And like, why not just keep that hot with him? You know, why not continue to let him build on that? He's going to throw some interceptions. He's going to have some fumbles. Like, yeah, there's a good chance he can come out and look like crap in week 1. But you don't know until you let him get his shot. And like I said, you know what you've got on your other 2 quarterbacks. We're not talking about Tommy DeVito. Like, it is the Jaxson Dart era. It has been the Jaxson Dart era since he's been drafted. And it was even a shocker because I was literally looking at a YouTube video of mine. I just saw the thumbnail before we jumped on, and it was like, the Giants signing Russell Wilson eliminates the possibility of drafting a quarterback. And no, it didn't. If Jaxson was enough to move them in the first round, why would he not start? Especially with the way that he's looked in the preseason. But you guys get in the comments. Let us know what you think. We read everything. Like and subscribe. Hit us on YouTube and all socials. Let us know what you think about the Jaxson Dart debate thus far. Man, every NFL season, you know, we see a handful of rookies. They come out swinging, highlight reels, big plays. Just, it seems like they're going to flip the franchise on its head and be the future, like we were just mentioning in the Jaxson Dart era. But, you know, not every hot start always turns into hardware. Some guys will fizzle out. Others just can't keep their pace once they get it going, and kind of the hype can die out as quick as it really became about, right? But who's really got the juice to bring home the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2025? We're going to give you all our top 5. Maybe if you have an honorable mention, Marcus, that's totally cool. Give me your number 5. Well, so as much as I say top 5, I didn't rank them, but just give me your 5 candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I did rank mine.
Yeah, that's
Mine
fine. If you
ranked.
ranked them, that's great. I can probably rank mine real quick while you're running through yours, because I've got my feelings about the guys. So go ahead, man. Who are your top 5 Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates?
So number 5, I have Matthew Golden. The reason why I have Matthew Golden number 5 is, and this is not just because I'm a Packers fan, it's because I think as a rookie wide receiver, and first of all, as the first round rookie wide receiver to be picked in 23 years, there are a lot of expectations from Matthew Golden in Green Bay.
Yeah.
That's number 1. But number 2, most importantly, when you look at Green Bay's wide receiver core, right, the only proven commodity really right now is Jaden Reed. Remember, Christian Watson's been dealing with injury. He actually tore his ACL towards the end of the season, right? Romeo Doubs has been the epitome of inconsistency. He's played really well in some games. He's been a no-show in others. They've taken Bo Melton and moved him to the cornerback position, so he's not even in the wide receiver room anymore. And Dontavian Wicks is kind of like our gadget guy, right? So as young and as inconsistent as this wide receiver room is, I do still think that Jaden Reed is and will be the wide receiver 1 of the group, likely and rightfully so. But I think Matthew Golden has a strong chance to be the wide receiver 1 and rack up a bunch of yards. This is also, if you remember, in our first preseason game, Matthew Golden was the only receiver to catch a ball. Not because he was the only receiver to be targeted. He was literally the only receiver to catch the football in our first preseason game. So
Emphasis
I don't
on
know
catch.
if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like literally the only one. So I have Matthew Golden at number 5. Number 4 on my list is Travis Hunter. We all love Travis Hunter being able to play on both sides of the ball. However, this is the National Football League. The game is faster. The game is more physical. And I'm not sure yet if Travis Hunter will be able to maintain being able to play every single snap of offense and defense the way he was essentially able to play every single snap of offense and defense in college. If he can, it'll be the greatest single season feat we've ever seen, not just from a rookie, but from any player in the history of the NFL. And he would warrant being the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And in that scenario, he'd probably also be Defensive Rookie of the Year also. But that's why I have my number 4.
That would be crazy.
Also, too, if we're being honest, I think it's actually more likely that he would be Defensive Rookie of the Year than Offensive Rookie of the Year, just because I think he'll have a better opportunity to showcase his talents on defense than he will on offense. At number 3, I mentioned him earlier. It's Amarion Hampton. I might be thinking, how is he above Travis Hunter when they've got Najee Harris in LA? I get that. But this is an LA Chargers team that has fully revamped their everything since Jim Harbaugh arrived last season. I think they're going to be a little bit more run heavy because they do have some things to figure out with the wide receiver room. I know Keenan Allen is back now. right? I still have no idea what's going on with Quentin Johnson. Like, there's a lot to figure out there. And as much as I
He's a
love
bust. He
Justin
can't catch
Herbert,
a football.
right? He can't catch a football either. Maybe
I
he's a
never
Green Bay Packers
understood
wide
why
receiver.
people had him so high in their drafts. I said, bro's a one-trick pony. And people
Yeah,
figured
I
out
don't
his
know.
tricks, and now he can't even catch. I didn't even think he had drop problems in college, but
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I do think, again, he's a first round pick. They're going to get him touches early and often, and in an offense that needs to identify what's going on in the passing game, they're going to be run heavy very often. I think he can rack up a bunch of yards. At number 2, and this was tough for me, but at number 2 I have Cam Ward. And the only reason why Cam Ward's number 2 is simply because as the quarterback.
Damn, so you're cutting either Genty or Dart, or you're going to throw me a curveball and you're not putting either one of them in there.
The only reason why I have Cam Ward number 2 is because as the quarterback, your team has to win games in order for you to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. Let's say you think about who's been the Offensive Rookie of the Year in years past, right? Jaden Daniels had arguably the greatest rookie season we've ever seen. The year before that, right, we saw C.J. Stroud win it, right? We've also seen Justin Herbert win Offensive Rookie. Like, we've seen a lot of talented quarterbacks win Offensive Rookie of the Year. And so if Cam Ward's going to do it, he's going to have the steepest hill to climb because his team is the worst of all the most recent quarterback Offensive Rookies of the Year. At number 1,
drum roll, please,
I have Ashton Genty.
Whoa! Damn, Genty at the top.
Absolutely. I think Ashton Genty is going to come in right away and be an impact player at the running back position for this football team. We have to remember, this is a Las Vegas Raiders team that is now coached by Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is a guy who loves defense and loves to run the football.
Oh, yeah.
I expect Ashton Genty to crack 1,000 yards his rookie season. Easily. I expect Ashton Genty actually to finish top 10 in rushing yards this season. Yep. And I think Ashton Genty has a strong possibility when you look at just how little outside of Brock Bowers there is in the receiving core. I think there's a strong possibility that Ashton Genty might do something only one other guy in the history of the NFL has done. I think Ashton Genty has a strong chance to be the second guy other than Christian McCaffrey to be 1,000 and 1,000 this season because they're going to need all they can get.
Damn, and if Ashton Genty that's going to be a big lift for Ashton scrimmage to go yards, 1K on both sides.
I think it's very possible. Call me crazy. I think it's very, very possible.
He'll
if he
have
can
to
do
develop
that,
as such
he
a
would be
passer
offensive
in the
rookie
passing game. Yeah, 100%. If he combines for 2K scrimmage yards, not to interrupt you, but that's that's a outlandish take for sure. But I mean, it's back. The only thing is when you look at him at Boise State, like that was the only knock on Genty, and what was it? Maddox Madsen, I think, was the quarterback at Boise State. They didn't feed Genty through the air a lot because bro got like 350, 400 carries in college. And that was like, that's literally the only con I remember from Genty was his height, which doesn't matter as a running back.
Never matters as a running back.
And the fact that he just didn't get, and I even remember saying, it's not that he can't be a CMC, a Kamara, a Brian Robinson, and Eckler in the passing game. He just didn't get the opportunities. If Pete Carroll hands it to him, then for sure. I don't know if I can go 1,000. I could see like 1,300 and like 600, like 1,900.
1,000 might be a bit of a stretch in his rookie season, but I do think he'll come really close to being 2,000 combined. Also, I mean, he's going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, I think he'll get the chance.
They're going to need all the help they can get
yards
in the passing game. So they're going to be feeding him, whether it's screens, whether it's those flat routes, those flat, like whatever it is. They're going to give him opportunity to catch passes out of the backfield. This is the same Raiders offense that for such a long time hosted Josh Jacobs, a guy who up until last season set the record actually for the most receptions by a running back without a receiving touchdown. So like, we know that this is an offense and we know this is a system in Vegas. I know it's different now that Pete Carroll's there, but it's really not all that different. Like, we know that they're going to want to get him involved in the passing game. So I think it could happen. But if he can combine or come really close to 2,000 scrimmage yards, I think could be Offensive Rookie of the Year. And again, as a running back, it doesn't matter. Like, he doesn't need to win as running back. Cam Ward needs to win in order for it to, like, he has to win in order for it to work. Genty doesn't need to win. He just needs to go out there and be great. I think he's going to be great. So I think Ashton Genty is going to be offensive.
Wow, Genty at 1, and you think he's going to have 2K scrim yards. I respect it, bro. Well, 1,000. I think he has a chance to go for 2K scrim yards for sure. No doubt. Yep. At number 5 for Offensive Rookie of the Year candidates, I've got Matthew Golden. He was clearly drafted as that number 1 wide receiver. Green Bay clearly desperately needed him in the room. And I think he's going to form a very solid duo with Jordan Love, no doubt. Jordan Love's going to have many opportunities to connect with him and, other decent names in the receiving core like Wicks, like Reed, of course. If Christian Watson can, come around. And that guy's a burner down the field, right? Like he's very, very able to fit into those passing schemes like LaFleur loves to see. And this was the top 3 receiver in the draft, no question about it. At number 4, give me Travis Hunter at number 4, because I think for a little bit in the NFL, he's going to have to figure out like where his specialty is. And I get it, like the kid's confidence, he doesn't want to give it up. I'm going to play, all snaps on both sides. Like that's great, but the speeds are different, the hits are different, the plays are different, the quarters, like the game is different at the next level. And it's really about the speed and the pressure and the hits, right? So it's like Travis is going to have to take a chance to figure that out. And I think the likes of other people higher on my list, or even some of the people that you mentioned, are going to get a chance to make more of an effect consistently rather than Travis will, because it's like, Steve Smith Sr. said it best. He went to Travis Hunter's pro day. He was like, he looks very good, but he's going to have to become a master of one, not a jack of all trades. Jacks of all trades do not get paid like an expert and a master of one does. And I just firmly agree with him there. So I think Travis Hunter is going to come in there at number 4. He's going to have plenty of opportunities, right? But I think Trevor Lawrence being his quarterback, very polarizing topic. We don't like what's the verdict on Trevor Lawrence? I'm mostly leaning to the side of out, but like we know what the talent is and the potential, but potential and talent are good for nothing but, getting you fired if you don't execute on it and it doesn't actually come through. So that's going to be interesting to see. If this guy wins OROY and DROY as one player, put the kid in the hall. I'm serious. Put the kid in the freaking hall if he wins both in his first year. At number 3, that's where I'm going to take Ashton Jeanty. Clearly, we know what he's been capable of. He's going to be an absolute workhorse. He's going to be absolutely fed as a rookie. I think we're going to see a Zeke, a Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb type of workload early on. And Pete Carroll and Geno Smith are really going to rely on him heavily early on, especially Geno. And if they do incorporate him more into the passing game, which we'll know within the first 2 to 3 weeks what Pete Carroll is kind of really seeing in Jeanty to be able to work him in on some Texas routes, some wheel routes, some stop and goes, potentially, like whatever, not stop and go, but you get the point that I'm making for, the route tree that could potentially, come up to, really Ashton Jeanty. And I mean, he's got big people to live up to. I mean, most recently, Bijan Robinson. You've got guys like AP and LaDainian Tomlinson that he's been, compared to. And so we just know the workload's going to be really heavy and he's going to have a ton of opportunities. At number 2, give me Jaxson Dart. For all the reasons that I just said before this. I mean, the deep ball timing, the proficiency at layering the throws in the NFL coverage already, that's going to be the big trait to keep up. The vision, the first round talent. I mean, the way he takes his assignments, this guy is just absolutely lights out. You guys heard me say it. And then at number 1, give me Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Clearly the most talented quarterback. Jaxson Dart is on his heels, though, in this class and in this draft. So it's going to be great to see, what Cam brings to the table. Brian Callahan now actually having to develop Cam Ward after dealing with the craziness of Will Levis and everything that the Mayo man brought with him. It's really crazy to see how it kind of played out. But, he has a significant amount of talent around him. Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard, and 3 of the best receiving weapons, not best, 3 of the well-producing, highly respected receivers in college football in Gunnar Helm, Xavier Restrepo, his teammate who he advocated for, and Elick Eiermander, the Travis Hunter killer. So, I mean, he's got some great rookie talent, and he's also got, again, a Tyler Lockett, a Calvin Ridley, a Tony Pollard. We've already seen a little bit of a connection with the Eiermander and Calvin Ridley. So it's going to be really, really nice to see, man. So we're kind of neck and neck on there. I don't have Omarion Hampton. I know you do not have Jaxson Dart, so, very well respected. No doubt about it. But who is y'all's pick for offensive rookie in the year? Drop it in the comments. Again, hit the like, subscribe, because these rookies aren't just making plays, guys. They're actually shaping the future of the NFL. Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson just dropped an absolute bombshell on the NFL community. He is claiming the NFL actually told teams to not draft Shedeur Sanders. And we heard about the speculation during the draft. But now we have him from, quote, a very good source. I swear, I hate the word source. Okay, what's your source? Your outlet plug? That's a source. Come on now. This is a very good source tells him this. And just think about that, Marcus. Not a bad scouting report, not draft board politics, but an actual intentional message to make him an example. So, is this the biggest conspiracy theory we've seen around a quarterback? We remember when the NFL was convoluting around Lamar Jackson with his extension that he eventually ended up getting. Or is it just, smoke to really stir the pot, man? Let's break it down, what it means for Shedeur, the Browns, and really the league as a whole. Let's just keep it casual, bro. Very simple angle here. Do you believe Eric Dickerson? And just what's your thoughts on this, of this actually being a potential thing?
I've learned a lot of things from my dad. One thing I've definitely learned and taken with me is that he's always told me is that when someone tells you who they are, you should believe them the first time, right? So we're talking about a football league that has a rule called the ROTY rule, specifically because minority head coaches and minority candidates for head coaching positions aren't getting their justice, right? This is the same football league that is being sued by Brian Flores for abusing that ROTY rule. This is the same football league that watched Lamar Jackson fall to 32. This is the same football league that time and time and time again, you see certain black quarterbacks come out of college, come to the NFL draft, and we know what they are on paper. We know what they are on the film. We know what they are on the tape, pro days, combines, whatever. But for some reason, they keep falling in the draft. So if you're asking me if I believe what Eric Dickerson is saying is true, you're absolutely right. I believe he's just saying what a lot of us were believing already. You can't possibly tell me that a guy who had the career that Shedeur Sanders had in college, that a guy with the numbers that Shedeur Sanders posted in college, with a guy who had the film that Shedeur Sanders put out there for these NFL scouts, NFL teams, and GMs to take a look at, you can't possibly tell me that it just so happens coincidentally that all 32 teams in the NFL said, yeah, that guy's not a first-round talent. You can't tell me that. There are a lot of idiots that work for the NFL. I know.
Yeah.
But you can't tell me that all 32 teams
good job
looked at what Shedeur Sanders put on tape and said, that guy's not first round.
Yeah.
Now he's not.
Imagine if he would have played all 3 preseason games,
guy.
Marcus. Imagine if he would have played all 3 preseason games. Boy, Cleveland would have their hands full. Like they already
here's
do,
the problem.
Right?
Well, here's the problem for the Cleveland Browns. What makes this worse is it would be the Cleveland Browns of all the organizations that needed a quarterback that decided to pull the trigger here, right? And here's why I think it ended up being the Browns. Because there are a couple of teams I think that should have drafted him that didn't, but they couldn't draft him after whatever. The Saints needed a quarterback.
Stop him. I invited you on here. Stop that.
But here's the thing, right? If the Saints, after, let's say, round 3, trades up for Shedeur, that lets us know that they were instructed not to draft him in the first round. If the Pittsburgh Steelers traded up to go get Shedeur Sanders, that lets us know that they were instructed not. But if the Browns do it, the same organization that was 0-16 at one point, the same organization that paid Deshaun Watson a guaranteed contract, and he hasn't really played a snap of football, meaningful football for them since signing that contract. If that organization drafts Shedeur Sanders, everyone does it. He's like, oh, they're just dumb because they already have Joe Flacco and they already got Dylan Gabriel. It's like, oh, they're just being stupid. See, I'm on to you, bro. Like, I know how this works. If a team that actually needed Shedeur Sanders drafted Shedeur Sanders after all of that nonsense, we all would have known right then and there, obviously, even though we already did, that this was all a fix. This is all a ruse, this was all a conspiracy. I'm going to continue to say what I've been saying all season, bro. The Cleveland Browns have a tough decision to make. They're in a lose situation.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco's the starter. Guess what happens the second Joe Flacco becomes old, which he already is? They're going to want Shedeur Sanders. But guess what they're going to put out there? They're going to put Dylan Gabriel out there.
No, hell no. They're going to put fucking Kenny Pickett out there.
They're going to put Kenny Pickett.
They're going to put Kenny Pickett out there because Buddy's number 2 on the depth chart right now.
And guess what happens when Kenny Smallhands messes up?
Insane that Kenny Pickett is even still employed in the National Football League right now.
It's not.
Like no knock to him.
No, he should have stayed in Philadelphia.
Dylan and Shedeur?
Okay. He should have stayed in Philly and just kept getting free rings, but it's okay. Joe Flacco, I wouldn't be surprised if Browns fans are chanting Shedeur Sanders' name the way they were chanting for Baker Mayfield when Baker Mayfield got drafted.
They're going to chant it week 1.
They are.
Week 1.
So Joe Flacco's going to crash and burn, and then they're going to put Kenny Pickett out there, and then he's going to crash and burn, and then Dylan Gabriel's going to go out there, and then unfortunately, even though I'm an Oregon guy, he's going to crash and burn, and out comes Shedeur Sanders. The Cleveland Browns aren't serious about winning, is what this tells me.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, even after you draft him, you look at him and you say, he's fourth. There's no way after
there's no way.
In week 1.
Yeah.
After you admitted, as head coach Kevin Stefanski, you admitted he got no first-team reps. He got no first-team reps leading into that game. You put him out there and he gives me that performance. Dylan Gabriel
gives you almost 200 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And then the following week, Dylan Gabriel lays an egg.
Yeah.
But somehow he's still ahead of Shedeur Sanders on the depth chart. I absolutely believe
Shit doesn't make any sense.
I absolutely believe Eric Dickerson. I already knew that was the case, but I'm glad that the quiet part has been said out loud.
I'm glad that somebody had the gumption to come forward and just say, hey, this is what actually happened.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't deny it either, brother. I mean, what does he have to lose by saying this.
He's
Why
a
would
Hall of
he?
Famer we're talking about.
Right. Why would he lie? I mean, you really took the segment there, but yeah, it's just I don't know if I've ever seen an example of you being punished talent-wise because you're unapologetically who you are. Like, in perception is reality, right? Like, shout out to my friends that tell me this all the time. What you perceive the world to be is what you're going to believe is actually happening. You look for good, you find good. You look for bad, you find bad. When Shedeur Sanders stood in that press conference and said, if you want to change your franchise, you will draft me. And he got shit on for that. Because his father has the first name Dion, he was held to the fire for that. People act like he didn't do what he did at Jackson State and what he did at Colorado. Now, yes, with the way that he acted at times and the fact that Colorado came out hot, and then nobody was saying SCO buffs by the end of the first season with Shedeur and Dion and Travis Hunter, because we saw they fell off the rails. They got humbled by USC. They got humbled by Oregon. Like, people came in and they just had to show them how it was done. I remember talking about it. There was levels to this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like I couldn't even have come up with like a legit angle for this because it was just such a legit bombshell on the NFL community. It's like, yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad Eric Dickerson had the gumption to say something, and especially on the platform that he did, right? Like, it's just a matter of time before we figure out, like, what, if we ever do. You know, that's the crazy thing, is I think the way that the NFL is structured and built, guys like you and I will, I mean, of course, guys like you and I, unless we just have the credentials to move up through the league, but it's even then, right? Like, who really gets to see who makes those phone calls?
Yeah.
Because, you know, the whole world looks at Goodell because he's the commissioner. And like, we as fans kind of look at Goodell too.
I don't think he made that phone call.
But Goodell is just the B-boy for the NFL, right? Like, let's just call it what it is. What the NFL wants, Goodell then puts it into some sort of messaging and relays it, right? Like, am I wrong on that?
No, in fact, I'm willing to bet that this was not even like a league office thing. I don't think this was a league office thing.
You think these were like GMs talking to GMs?
I
like,
think, look, I mean, we say all the time, bro. Like
NFL, Mickey Loomis called Andrew Berry and was like, don't take that guy.
The ownership and the GMs, it's a good old boys club.
Yeah.
That's all it's always been. That's
right.
Like, I don't
100%.
think this was a league office thing. I think this was a concerted effort by ownership and GMs to say, we want to send this guy a message.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say the same thing about this that I said earlier, and the same thing that I said about the whole LeBron James thing. As a black man, I am never going to shame another black man for doing what he needs to do to make sure his family is successful. There's a lot of people who didn't like the things that Dion had to say. If you don't like how he said it, that's your business. I'm not going to tell another grown man how to talk. But I don't see anything wrong with what Dion was saying. This is a guy who, in his own words, has 3 jackets in his closet and he didn't buy any of them. He's got a gold jacket, he's got a red jacket, and he's got another jacket. I forget what color it is. He's an NFL Hall of Famer, he's a college football Hall of Famer, and he's in some other Hall of Fame that
Probably
I can't think of right now.
Probably the FSU Hall of Fame.
Probably the FSU Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Bobby Bowden really helped.
Yeah, this is a guy who knows how these things work.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he have the position that he had for Shedeur Sanders and, to a lesser degree, Travis Hunter leading up to the NFL draft?
Yeah, see,
Again,
like, people want to act like Travis and Dion didn't have a relationship. Right. People want to act like Travis and Dion didn't have a relationship. People want to act like that Shedeur Sanders was not the one throwing the football to Travis Hunter when Travis Hunter had great wide receiver plays. Dion had a relationship with both of them. But because Shedeur is his damn son, this is the type of thing that's rolling out in the NFL. It is disgusting, bro, but it's okay. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me when Jalen Hurts got drafted incorrectly. There was no convolution. He didn't fall as far, but I'm like, how is Jalen Hurts not a first rounder? Like, this guy just went to Oklahoma. Yes, he had a bit of a turnover problem, but he literally came second to Joe Burrow, which everybody did. Joe Burrow was the biggest Heisman vote winner in history. There was never a bigger margin of victory for when Joe Burrow won the Heisman.
And unless there's a unanimous one, there never will be.
Yeah, 100%. Like, right. It probably will never happen again unless Arch does some crazy shit this year, right? But it's like, you know, we saw it happen with Jalen Hurts. And what's crazy is I feel like Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders are literally both experiencing the same thing, because I believe that Dillon Gabriel was a more solid quarterback too, but Dillon Gabriel wasn't convoluted at. He wasn't, you know, slept on. People just really didn't believe in his talent. But I believe Shedeur's journey, like, I see the Baker Mayfield, the Geno Smith, the Jalen Hurts, type of, career unfolding. Like, takes him a minute to get into his spot. He might have to bounce on some teams, but once he's there, like, they're delivering. They're good. We saw it when Geno got to Seattle. We saw it, obviously, with the other couple of players that I just mentioned. So it's like, I think that's really what's in the cards for him. I do. Do you think at this point, though, that the Cleveland Browns should trade Shedeur Sanders before week 1? Because he's not going to play anymore. He's already been showcased. I mean, you go look on YouTube, his preseason NFL debut has over 1 million views. I've never seen that for a player, and I watch a lot of preseason football for quarterbacks. A lot. Trevor Lawrence didn't even get that. Baker Mayfield didn't even get that. And Trevor Lawrence was the most generational prospect we've ever seen. So it's like, yeah, the question, do you think there's even talks for Cleveland to move him? Like, teams are calling and asking, like they have to be. If he's 4th on your depth chart, but he's the emergency quarterback. Because if they really believe that Dylan Gabriel is over Shedeur, because it's Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Shedeur, if you're just comparing the quarterbacks they were in college, Shedeur over Gabriel. If you're just comparing how they played in the preseason, Shedeur over Gabriel. So it's like, I guess the example is just going to continue to be made, but I don't think they realize how much they are actually building Shedeur's story and how great the foundation of that 30 for 30, of that journey when he does get to his spot. And I'm not talking about if he ever goes on to win a Super Bowl or an MVP, but just when he gets his light. And the best way I can look at it is how Baker has recently and how Geno Smith has. But again, the question, do you believe they actually want to move Shedeur? I mean, do you see it happening realistically with how things are playing out?
If he does get moved, it won't be before week 1. I think it'll be a team that like maybe is on the cusp of making the playoffs and maybe thinks that he could be the push.
It's going to be something irritating, like a quarterback goes down and the backup option is just not going to be viable. And they're going to be like Shedeur.
I do still think that whoever the decision makers are in New Orleans needs to pick up the phone and call Cleveland every day until the numbers block, because
please.
I don't know why you wouldn't be doing that.
Right. Don't get me wrong, Shuck and Rattler looking all right, but I mean,
they're not Shedeur Sanders.
They're not. Nah, Shedeur. I was literally getting ready to order a Shedeurlands custom shirt, brother. I'm having it right now, boy.
The only other team I can think of that might put the call in for Shedeur is the Rams. Stafford obviously has fewer days.
Stetson's been lighting it up.
Yeah, but he's not better than Shedeur.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. I would definitely give you that one. I would definitely give you that one.
I hear you on the Stetson Bennett point, but like he's not better than Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
So like maybe the Rams, but I'm just sitting here trying to like go down the list. The Steelers should still probably, I think, put the phone and call, because Mason Rudolph is not the answer, and they are not going to have a shot at Arch this year or next. Honestly.
So do you foresee Shedeur as like a solid backup, or like he could be that QB1? Because Shedeur Sanders, I mean, they got Aaron Rodgers in.
Shedeur Sanders at his best in the NFL, if a team does right by him, can win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That is what I believe.
Yeah.
Firmly.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders in Pittsburgh this season, they're a playoff team. If they make every move they made, but instead of signing Aaron Rodgers, they draft Shedeur Sanders, they're a playoff team this season.
Damn.
If the New Orleans Saints even go out there and get Shedeur Sanders, they have a strong chance to win the division, I would think, because that division's wide open, honestly. Like, I love the Bucks, but anything can happen there.
Yeah.
Right? I think the Bucks are obviously the favorite, like anything can happen there.
The NFC South is so crazy because the Bucks are the best team, but like on paper, Atlanta should be running that damn division. On paper, Atlanta should be running that division because they have the Lord. Because I would be so sad if that fell. That took me forever to hang. Yeah, we're good. Watch, I'm gonna keep messing with it. It's gonna fall. Michael Penix, in my opinion, is like, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's the best quarterback in the division because Baker is there, but like Michael Penix to me is the most talented quarterback in that division.
I mean, if I just keep going, like the Dolphins would have been better off with Shedeur Sanders and Quinn Ewers.
Yeah,
if we're being completely honest.
Yeah.
You know, if I go over to, let's see, now we're going over to the AFC South. The Colts would have been better off with Shedeur Sanders than signing Daniel Jones, if we're being completely honest.
Shedeur,
right? If I go over to the AFC North, I mean, he's already in the AFC North. You go to the AFC West. I think the AFC West is probably the only division where probably Shedeur wouldn't have ended up, like, no chance at all. But then again, and that's only because Geno still has a little bit left in the tank for at least another 3 to 5, maybe at least 3 years for sure. Right. You don't want Shedeur Sanders sitting for 3 years. NFC teams, you know, again, we talked about the Giants, but they obviously had Jaxson Dart already. I mentioned the Rams. You know, the Niners aren't going to move off of them. Maybe the Kyler Murray experience in Arizona comes to an end, but I wouldn't want to see Shedeur in that kind of environment. I want to see him in an environment we could thrive pretty early on. But there are a couple of teams where that should be calling. I don't know if they will, But the Saints and the Steelers are the two teams for me that if Shedeur were to be moved, it would be
drafted
because
him.
one of those teams finally come to their senses and they realize that they need him.
Yup.
You put Shedeur in Pittsburgh, I think they're a playoff team this season. Absolutely. And I do believe, conspiracy or no, the only reason why the Steelers didn't draft Shedeur Sanders is because Aaron Rodgers, when he was contemplating retirement, had pretty much already told them, if I don't retire, it will be to come play for you. And they didn't want to risk having a repeat of Green Bay 2020 of potentially pissing him off. And I'm just like, Aaron Rodgers, at this point in your career, brother, like, be glad there's a team that even wants you to be under center with how you looked in New York last season. Like, just be grateful, but whatever.
Yeah. I firmly believe the Cleveland Browns should look into trading Shedeur Sanders, because if he's going to sit behind a quarterback in Dillon Gabriel, who I have a lot of respect for, I believe that Dillon Gabriel could have been a first through a third round quarterback. I'm on an island for saying that. I just personally believe that Dillon Gabriel was a very good college quarterback. I had Shedeur ahead of him, but for an NFL front office, which we said there's a lot of idiots working in the NFL, for an NFL front office, an NFL staffing, management team looking at this depth chart, putting Shedeur fourth is crazy. Shedeur at worst should be QB2 on this roster. Kenny Pickett should be cut or fourth, and Dillon Gabriel should be 3. It really should be Shedeur, Gabriel, or Pickett. Maybe, you could argue anybody at 2, right? But we know Shedeur has an immense opportunity to be QB1. So I mean, don't.
You know what my theory is?
If you hold him, what's the point? What's the point in holding him? You're not showcasing because you didn't play him anymore.
Here's my theory.
Shedeur is going to play, excuse me.
The reason why Shedeur Sanders isn't QB1 is because if Shedeur Sanders is QB1, he's going to play well. And the Browns can't go back to Deshaun Watson when he's healthy, following a strong rookie season from Shedeur Sanders. That's why Shedeur Sanders is 4th, because it would take catastrophe upon catastrophe upon catastrophe.
They have buried that man on the depth chart.
For Shedeur Sanders to play. And then when Deshaun Watson is healthy, the Browns can say, well, we're going to go to Deshaun because the only reason why Shedeur played is because we witnessed 3 QB catastrophes, whatever that might be. If Shedeur Sanders was the starter in week 1 and he's played the entire season, didn't get hurt, and he played well, and the Browns were competitive, they would have no leg to stand on when Deshaun Watson got healthy. And the Browns need Deshaun Watson to play a full season of football for that egregious contract to be even somewhat.
They're done for. Their insurance policy is kicking in on that.
That's the only reason why Shedeur Sanders is not starting. It's because they need to be able to go back to Deshaun Watson when he's finally healthy. You can go back to Deshaun Watson if Joe Flacco's your starter. You can go back to Deshaun Watson if Kenny Pickett's your starter. You can go back to Deshaun Watson if Dillon Gabriel's your starter. But you cannot go back to Deshaun Watson if Shedeur Sanders is your starter. And the Browns know that.
And why?
That's why he's 4th.
Why can they not go back to Shedeur? Why can they not go back to him?
Why can't they go back to Shedeur?
Yeah, did you not just say say what you just said again about that's why Shedeur's 4th, because they can't fall back to Shedeur?
Shedeur's 4th. Because if Shedeur were to be the starter in week 1, Shedeur doesn't get hurt. He's playing all 17.
Yeah.
And
so
he's
they're
going
paying
to make $230
million to a rookie, I guess, is how they look at it.
After this season, going into next season when Deshaun Watson is healthy, if he's healthy, what leg would the Browns have to stand on to go back to Deshaun Watson if Shedeur Sanders gives me a great rookie season? Oh, and by the way, if Shedeur Sanders has a great rookie season in Cleveland, they're competitive, Shedeur Sanders is Offensive Rookie of the Year. You can't go back to Deshaun Watson after that. But I can go back to Deshaun Watson if Joe Flacco is my starter. Or if I end up pivoting to Kenny Pickett, I can go back to Deshaun Watson.
They're just done.
Or if I end up going to Dillon Gabriel, I can go back to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
And even if Shedeur plays this season, he's QB4, which means the Browns can say, yeah, well, he only played because 3 QBs went down.
Yeah.
So I can still go to Deshaun Watson. The only way they can't go back to Deshaun Watson after Shedeur Sanders is if Shedeur Sanders was the starter week 1. That's why he's QB4.
Right.
Because they need Deshaun Watson to play a full season of football before it's all said and done. They need that to happen.
Yeah. Good explanation there, man. Good take.
They're the dumbest franchise in the league right now, and we see it we're reminded of that every single season.
Yeah.
Sucks to suck if you're a Browns fan. I don't know what to tell you.
Right. So, I mean, it's just going to come down to, do they want to pull the trigger and trade before the season even kicks off? Or, do they feel like It doesn't even, I know they don't feel like they have a talent sitting in the room because that's why he's at where he's at. And honestly, with your explanation, I'm sure it has been discussed to somewhat of that extent, but that's a really good way to put it, man. It really is. But you guys let us know in the comments about the Shedeur Sanders discussion, because that's going to be the cut for episode 109. If you loved a take or if you hated it, hit us up, comment, share, and roast us on socials. We absolutely read everything. Hey, buddy, that mentioned white dude's hairline is wild. I hope you're watching, bro. I just went to the barber and got my ears lowered today, buddy. Check the fade, my boy. Check it. We got a Hims and a Keep subscription partnership coming to the show soon. Your boy been taking Keeps for 6 months, but just wait. The progress pictures are coming soon. So like I said, we read everything. Before we get out of here, though, bro, let the folks know where they can find you. Thank you for taking the time and blessing us with your knowledge and your takes on the show today. And just tell the folks about you, man. I'm sure they know, but still got to let them know.
It's always a pleasure to talk, Adam. Talk football with Adam. You can follow me on Instagram at marcus.talks.sports or on TikTok at Marcus Talk Sports, all one word. That's usually where I'm at most of the time. Really just type Marcus Talk Sports into your Googlers and you'll find me. If you can't find me, you just ain't looking.
100%, man. Like I said, that's the wrap for episode 109. Y'all hit the QR code in the corner of the screen or the link tree down below. It's every bit of our social content at NFL with AJL. We had an absolutely loaded show tonight. Only 3 topics, really kind of broke down into 5, but ended up working out really well. Before you get out of here, please like and share the stream, not the stream, share the episode. So used to live streaming. Wherever you may be watching or listening, leave a review on podcast platforms. Please subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on socials. DM me about stuff that you possibly want to see on the show. I'd love to see y'all's comments. Like I said, I literally read every comment I possibly can. And thank y'all again for tuning in. Seriously, I hope y'all have had a great week, and I hope this is a great podcast to get you through the weekend. We will be back with episode 110 on Tuesday. Germ from Stuff About Sports will be in the building. You guys know he brings the heat, and it's going to be amazing to have him on. As always, love y'all, need y'all, and we will see you in the next one.